Andrew in a BMW. Gosh, when was this going to happen? Well, welcome to a very random episode, a very brief episode. I'll try and make it as brief as possible because I'm very aware that my audience is generically Rover, British cars and Ford and not BMW. However, I have mentioned in the past that BMWs of a certain age really appeal to the sort of petrolhead car enthusiast that I am, and they say that you have to own certain cars in order to be a petrolhead. Naturally, owning an Alfa Romeo is certainly one of them cars. I'm never going to own an Alfa Romeo, and neither do I want to own one. They sound more troublesome than what they actually worth. They sound fantastic, by the way, but there is a car that, well, many cars that I would like to own from probably the 80s, 90s, of which were around and very common when I was little, are now quite rare. And this is one of them. And this again is one of David's own cars. And this is a BMW E30 316i. Yes. So, and as you can see in here, it is an automatic. Goodness me, right up my street then. Yes. Well, I'm here today doing some engine work. Typically, of all the cars on his fleet, the Concerto, we're going to do a video on this very soon with this R8 as a nice comparison video. The Coupe is actually doing quite well. I will actually just skirt along here just to give some Rover content. The door handle is unfortunately broken because while the plastic clips has decided to completely give in, so that's going to be redone. He's got another door handle. David's on top of that, but yes, the subject of this video today, respect your elders. I think that's quite a nice one because I really do have a lot of respect for BMWs of this age. They don't age well. Restoring one of these, I think, is generically more difficult than a Ford of the same age, but then different cars, different problems. Ford have massive rust issues. These can rust like anything from a period of a car of its time. Got some etching on the glass here, but overall, well, that door's actually not open. Yeah, honestly, it's a wicked car, but it does need some TLC. And the main issue that we've been getting, I was going to go on a drive with this up the road, but that's not going to happen today because we've got some fuel leakages and all manner of things have had to come off. The throttle is on the bench there. We're getting a few problems with idling. The throttle position sensor might be playing up. So it's going to come off for some new gaskets, some TLC inlet manifold gasket. I have no idea on working on BMWs, but it's like any car. It's all there from whatever components that you kind of expect to see on a car this age, you know, like your sort of your mass airflow sensor, throttle position sensor sort of buried on the throttle, sorry. You've got all sorts of pipes and etc. So, but it's really, you know, it's no different than anything other. Just noticing little stickers here and there. We've had to depressurize the fuel system by pulling this orange fuse, which apparently is a problem. But I'm actually quite interested to see the architecture of different cars. We've got the days before electric fans, we've got a viscous fan coupling, which basically multiplies the speed of the crankshaft on that fan blade. It's a very clever system, which was replaced by electric radiator fans. So BMWs in the 80s weren't thoroughly modern. They were still reliant on a lot of mechanical stuff, and this is definitely a mechanical BMW, but where they started combining plastics with aluminium, which is quite a German thing to do. We've got an oil filter housing down here, a fuel filter, huge fuel filter down there, power steering, ATF fluid. I've just checked that, actually it's rather good. We've even got this pre-OBD2 connector. If I can just, no I can't, my hands are too slippy, but we've got a unique BMW connector of which you need something to plug in and shut the lamp off because it's saying there's a service that's required apparently. That's just lit up on the dashboard. But we have obviously an automatic gearbox, which they're pretty reliable to be fair, like any other automatic. And the radiator is quite cool because the actual cap is actually mounted in the side of the radiator with this see-through side tank, which I find quite interesting. So that's the level when it should be cold, so it should always be around there. I find that quite interesting. Obviously we've got the sort of open-hinged forward bonnet, not cantilevered, but just generically what you'd find. Obviously we've got a coil over there, so it's not completely distributorless, because I presume the distributor is just behind here. This is a BMW M40 engine. Okay, it is regarded very poorly. I've got a book here actually, I'm going to show you, just come around the front here. I'm going to be taking this for a drive hopefully sometime soon, but in this book, it's a fantastic book actually, BMW E30 3 Series Restoration Bible by Andrew Everett. And I'll tell you something, the detail this goes into is absolutely ridiculous. You know, throttle position switch and the problems, the way things work. I mean, he's obviously an engineering, presumably of an engineering background, very high able. Focus Mark 1 enthusiast will probably want me to write some sort of book. I can actually write, so I've got a good knowledge of English, so I'm sure I could write something in the future. I've got plenty to say, and I've said it to camera, but ideally I couldn't easily do something on that side. Probably write a book on Rover 45s as well, to be honest. But it's interesting. Goodness me. I think this heat shield has seen better days. It looks really weird. But yeah, it's really serviceable in here. There's absolutely minor, I mean, there's minor bubbling here, but there's actually really nothing on this car. Absolutely nothing. I don't know why it's gone, and it's the central locking is a bit faulty on this. But I'll just take you in here. Got a dash mat up here. Oh, smells positively. Every German car from the 90s and 80s smell like this. I don't know what sort of plastics they were using. VWs smell exactly the same. It's just that plasticky smell. I would say for its time, this is thoroughly modern. And it does appeal to the younger person, as opposed to sort of Rover traditional older school customers. Very much a contradiction, but I've got to be honest, if BMW thought that they were on top, buying its competitor and then planning to kill it off, which is what happened, yeah, I've got a feeling that BMW were quite concerned by the Rover-Honda partnership, and I just look how gorgeous that car is. That is a superb example. But yes, it's an automatic, electric windows, got some it's interesting, no digital clock, just an analog clock. Obviously it's been modernised a little bit. David loves his music, and then we've got these interestingly stiff ventilation controls here, with a clunky, yeah, that is clunky. In fact, this is no better to hand than any sort of Austin Rover products. I think Maestros have kind of clunky switch gear really. So goodness me, yes, we have to have some remote here and there. Handbrake is kind of situated next to these cup holders. The back seat is rather nice as well. There is something to be said. Even the headlining is quite nice. I'm careful because I've got oil on my hands. But yeah, it's nice leather steering wheel. That's a nice switch, that is, for your side and headlight. Two pull-out switches. The headlight leveling motor is down here with a great big organ pedal, big brake pedal for an automatic. The carpets, I'll tell you what, these carpets are nice. That is nice. That is very equivalent to a Rover, that is, with the Star carpets, and you've got these sort of vinyl door cards, soft touch and soft feel. Yeah, it's got a nice give to it. But anyhow, I thought I would just give you a bit of a once around this car. The engine in question, this engine, the M40 engine, is not very renowned in BMW circles. Everybody goes for the 318s, 320s. This engine replaced the M10, which was a much more frugal engine, old school, and that kind of dated back to the early 1960s. This is not as high renowned. Very much like CVHs, they suffer from camshaft wear, tappets, you name it. And it's got hydraulic tappets, but they tend to not enjoy lack of servicing. These engines, apparently, according to this fine book here, they were perfectly fine when they were brand new. But when they were not brand new, they were a little bit of a pain. People didn't service them, didn't change the oil, the tappets got sludged up and they knocking. This is no example with tappety. However, even with worn tappets on most engines, hydraulic tappets that is, when the engine's warmed up, they should go a little bit quieter, even more noticeable. But apparently on these, no. These tappets get louder. Ugh, honestly. So it's not the most renowned and refined engine in the world, but it's an underdog, and we love an underdog on this channel. And I'm just getting this off. It's almost ready to come off. It was a bit of a pain. I had a feeling, cause I can't get these bolts out, I'm trying to separate the intermediate gaskets here, but we're going to change the inlet manifold gasket, have a really good clean up. This throttle is really disgusting. I'm trying not to get it in my tea. But yeah, this is not good. Excuse me, sorry. That's not good. See all that crap around here? We don't want that there and up there as well. We need to remove that crap and get the air flowing really nicely through there. This is going to have to go in a parts washer. This is the throttle position sensor, of which we suspect is being dodgy. We also have some sort of fuel leak. We did start the car up just before we started all this, and there's a fuel leak coming through this, not this hose here. So there's a hard line. So this is the line that feeds this sort of fuel regulator here, and there's a pipe just here that it goes to, and the rubber pipe's perished, and that's the return. That's your two, that's your return. We've got wiring for this, we've got wiring for something else, we've got wiring for that. There's a lot of wires coming off. I've just got to disconnect another hose and this can all just come off. Yeah, but anyway, I'm going to leave this here because I just wanted to sort of do a little update. I wanted to include this because this is part of David's fleet of cars and he really likes this. And do you know what, for BMW this is really, really tidy. He's kept on top of it. It just needs a good clean. He hasn't driven it in months. So anyway, I'm going to leave this here, but I thought I would introduce you to this car, and I'll cut back to when hopefully we might have done something. That's it. Feed the wiring through. There you go. There's the hose. Bingo. Lovely. Goodness me. Do you know what, David, I think this carb cleaner, this is all coked up quite badly actually. The gasket, well, it's a metal gasket and it's it's really bad. Oh dear. Yeah, I don't think this is going to help your air. In fact, it's snapped at one side.
Probably the original one.
I think it definitely is. It's going in the bin. Yeah, well, apart from that, I'll tell you what, if you give me the camera, I'll just show you guys. Tell you what, the valves, there's a bit of gasket that's gone in there. I have to fish that out, but your inlet valves look pretty good. Number 3 looks more cokey than the rest of them. The rest of them look really clean on their heads.
Okay.
That's a really good sign, that is. Oh, goodness me, I wish Ruby's was like that. But, yeah. Right, and about 6 hours later, and tons of cleaning. As you can see here, we have, me and David have been really busy with this. This has taken some scrubbing. I really do say this lightly. It's not about being OCD or making it showroom, but it looks amazing, doesn't it? You know, why not? But it's mainly to find out if you have leaks. Because if you've cleaned an engine bay to this standard, go back to a few minutes ago for you guys, and this was really dirty, but we've just cleaned a bit of diesel, bit of petrol, we haven't used degreasers, we just used petrol degreaser, few wet wipes and electrical contact cleaner for the connections. And do you know what, it's absolutely essential to do this if you're getting to know a car for the first time. And I'm not familiar with BMWs, so it's all about being inquisitive in the infrastructure under this bonnet and finding out where everything connects to each other. And look how nicely the block is cleaned up, and the valves are really clean now. We've just shoved some carb cleaner down there and wiped inside, and look at it, I can actually reach the valves quite nicely. So yeah, and sticking a Henry vacuum down each cylinder because I got some glove and paper towels stuck in there. No matter, it would have been burnt off, but we've just given the alley head a bit of a clean down, and that's going to have a bit of a polish. It looks absolutely amazing. And there is definitely some of BMW's heritage in the way they design their engines. They just look so aerospace, almost like Saab in that respect. Saab and BMW having very similar engines. Power steering flue reservoir looks nice, and we've just disconnected the map sensor box, and we have noticed some plastic degradation in a few places, but overall really clean. We've just cleaned all around here, and there's absolutely nothing. We've cleaned down there as well. It looks great, and this is what it's all about. And if I just come on this side, as I say, you just see her again. We've just cleaned all around there, cleaned around the universal joint as well. The gearbox has been cleaned at the back, loads of leaves that we've had to vacuum out, and some vinyl and rubber cleaner, and we had to unblock this breather line. This is one of the first things we spotted. The breather line here was slightly choked, so we've had to immerse it in some strong petrol. Ideally not good for hoses, but I've done the same on Ruby, and needs must in that respect. And no, it's all good. There's no, I'll tell you what, this car, there's no rust on it. I can't see any signs of any start of any rust. I mean, look how thick this chassis leg is. It's utterly huge. You say old cars can't take a blow, but I think BMWs certainly look as if they could take something. But anyway, let's go over here. This has been where all the work has continued. We've got all the nuts and fasteners here, and we've got a couple of hoses that I'm going to have to locate. I'll just clean that up, and obviously cleaning the throttle up. Yes, so we managed to just clean all around there as thoroughly as possible, just making sure that everything is really nicely seated. That is really good to see. And I just cleaned all around the springs and everything. It's come up an absolute treat, that thing. Again, in some petrol, and this is why this is the fuel feed line, which sits in the manifold like that. Now, there's a couple of problems with this manifold. We've just been cleaning this constantly for the last couple of hours, but I'll just bring it here. You guys can see, so we've got all the injectors sitting on this plastic rail here. It's really good. I've cleaned all down the boards as well, swilled the petrol around and cleaned these injectors. Look at that single nozzle there. Very small opening, although I have seen smaller holes for the injectors in a lot of, obviously, Fords for one. But if I just turn this round and over, so got the rail that sits on here, just cleaned all in here, because people don't realise this. If you don't clean up all this carbon and rubbish sitting here, this acts as a blanket on this inlet manifold, and it heats up the manifold, heats up the air. Not good for engine. Engine builders will tell you you have to go back to basics, clean everything thoroughly, sandblast it, whatever, and start again. And it's taken some time to get here. And this return pipe looks really good. The return pipe goes in here from the back of the fuel rail, and so it comes out here and then exits here. Now, these pipes link onto what I supposedly is an air control valve, and it's been tested and it's not a problem. I just cleaned all these pipes down as well. But we have disconnected, well, firstly from the throttle body, which we think is causing the issue, is this throttle position sensor. Now, apparently, when these engines get old, they breathe heavily, and therefore vapours can actually get into the throttle body, and there's evidence, that has definitely been evidence of that. and it goes into the throttle position sensor, and it corrupts a micro switch, which is supposed to click. The moment you put your foot on the gas, there's supposed to be a click from this. David says there's no click from this. So this book says you've got to split it apart, but this is what's confusing. You split it apart and you clean it, and that's what it says in the book, and there's no other issues with them. I can't see a way of splitting this, so I'm a bit confused. There's no obvious way of splitting it, and David has got an aftermarket one which looks like it can be split. So again, we're deliberating on that one, but hopefully it will work. Unfortunately, where the throttle position sensor is mounted underneath this, because this is the underneath, it sits like that in the car, so it's underneath. So the only way of getting to it really is getting all this off again. Ideally not. So we have to make sure that we do it properly, so that's going to go in the bin, but we're going to get the parts number for it nevertheless. And we have a throttle gasket which is going to have to be changed as well, and the inlet manifold gasket, which it just doesn't look very good at all. Not very good. Now this feed line runs to a fuel regulator which sits, I think, on this side again. Yeah, because we've got the bracketry on this side. Sorry, it sits on this side, sorry. Just on these two little nuts here. And it is a fuel pressure regulator. And we have got the parts number, made in Germany. This is the short section of hose we think is leaking. Well, there's some evidence of cracking on the end there. That's not good, so we're going to change this, and I think I've got the correct stuff. But also, I suspect a faulty regulator as well. Mainly, it's just a simple one-way valve, very simplest to Focus Mark 1s and all that. This vacuum line, not happy with that at all. Again, David's wrote some notes to get that changed, and it's all going to be fitted back on. These regulators are expensive, but we could go with a second-hand one because I suspect that that is not in the best shape of health. We have a rocker cover gasket that David's already bought, but seeing the evidence in my own eyes, I don't think we've got a rocker cover leak, but we will know immediately if we have a rocker cover leak, and that can be done in another job once we put the inlet back on, and we can sort that out, not a problem. But look how beautiful that is. I'm sorry, I just think BMW engines look so good when they're stock, not messed about with. Unfortunately, too many BMWs have gone that way, which really puts me off the brand. But I'm pretty sure that this is a very rare 316 video, because quite frankly, in BMW circles, nobody cares anything for that engine. In the words of this book here, this engine is a lemon. Every manufacturer, this is a quote, every manufacturer produces numpty engines, and that's that, a lemon. So people don't touch them. What a shame. Well, I think this is a decent engine. It runs, it starts, but it's not happy. And from what I see, there was carbon in here. We've got to clean this out, make sure the air is flowing in, flowing through here with unobstruction. We've made sure that the breather hose is now unchoked as much as possible, which will help to make sure that this doesn't get, well, the new one doesn't get choked. This is just a vacuum hose that attaches to the side of the throttle. And this is the cover for the whole thing. So yeah, a couple of new things, new regulator, some hoses that I might be able to help David out with, but this is all being cleaned, and I'm so happy with the results of this. As you can see there, I've just been tipping petrol in and swilling it round, and it will clean up really nicely. How beautiful is that? So anyway, I'm going to bid you farewell, and this is all going to be refitted back to David's car. I'm not going to show that because this is not specifically a BMW channel, but I thought it'd be nice to showcase a car that is very much understated in the world of BMW, that most people in the BMW world probably wouldn't even look at. This is an utterly solid example at the front, and the engine bay has got the Andrew detailing treatment that all my cars get, and in a space of 6 hours it's gone from a very sorry engine bay to a very beautiful one, and reflects how nice this car will be with a good wash on the outside. Yes, David. Yes, he's looking at me now. Anyway, you take care. See you very soon.